podcast, if you will, but it's still just a YouTube video. But I thought it would be fun to eventually make this a series where I pick a topic, I ask you to ask me questions as well, and I tell you about it, and then we have the questions segment. I don't know. We're just gonna see how it goes. I don't know if I'll do it, but just let me know if there's more you'd like me to talk about, because I'll happily talk you to sleep, or at least be a comfort as a friend to you. We're on my bed. I'm sitting on my bed, and so you move, I move. So be aware of that. Okay, so I have my phone here with notes, and I also have your questions there. So I grew up Dutch. I grew up in the Netherlands. I am almost fully Dutch as well, so I grew up in a very small town, in a very white environment. I would say very middle class, if you want to see it in the hierarchy. I hate that. I really don't like that. But I also have a hard time finding words sometimes to describe things, so in general, take what I say with a grain of salt, because I'm not here to represent everyone from the Netherlands and every Dutch person, but I'm just sharing my experience, and I mean, I'll have a very different experience in life than my neighbor does, you know. Also, no country is perfect. However, I'm very privileged to live where I live, and I'm aware of that to the extent that I can be from the privileged position. And we might live in very different surroundings, climates, cultures, but I'd like you to try to focus on the similarities between us, because I always love the fact that we can have such incredibly different backgrounds, but there's so much similarity between us, so I hope you can find some of that and some connection within that. So, without any further ado, let's dive in. I wrote some stuff down myself as well, and then I looked at your questions. I had made a post on my community tab asking for questions, then it got deleted, and then I did it again, but I wrote most of the first ones down, so we're just gonna see how it goes. I might repeat myself a little bit, but you'll be asleep by then, right? So, okay. Let's see. Yeah, it might happen that I'll mention some more serious topics in regards to our political climate, and if that's something that stresses you out, I recommend maybe not watching this, but I'll bring it softly, gently, and I'll be nuanced in what I say, because this is ASMR and I try to keep that in mind. But I'll also be sharing my thoughts on some things, probably. I think because the biggest thing that has impacted us and our country has been COVID, and the remnants of that politically. I think that it was a very polarizing time, and generally polarization is very visible because of media and stuff, and it's very impactful, and I definitely feel like we are experiencing a lot of that in our country. So I won't go into it too much, but it might pop up. Also, I'm not the right voice to be speaking on all that. Okay, let's start. So I grew up in a very small town. I went to a Christian elementary school. I went to a Christian high school. I myself do not define as Christian, but there's a lot of Christian-based things around me. So how it works in the Netherlands, when you are 4 years old, you start elementary school, primary school. I'm going 7, Group 5, 8, Group 6, 9, Group 7, 10, and then you're 11/12 when you go to Group 8 and then go off to high school. That depends on when you were born, of course. So that's kind of how our our primary school works. The first 2 years are kindergarten kind of vibes, and then Group 3, so when you are 6-ish, you start to actually learn how to read and stuff. Kids here learn English from Group 1 in primary school. When I was in primary school, we started in Group 3, I think, but a lot of people ask why my English is good, which, thank you. I always thought my English was really good, and then I started making these videos, and I discovered that there's so much that I still don't know or understand, which is funny. But what was I going to say about English? Yes, I learned most of my English through watching Drake and Josh at night, because in the Netherlands a lot of teen shows are dubbed, so there's Dutch audio over top. In Germany the same thing happens, but they leave the English underneath, from what I remember. I don't know if that's the case, but in German the dubbing is awful. I'll just say that, I'm sorry. But I don't like it when things are dubbed. So at night, Nickelodeon would switch to Teen Nick, and that's when Drake and Josh would be shown in the original language, which was amazing, and I loved it, and I loved watching all those shows. I'm very fidgety, I'm noticing. I hope that doesn't bother you, but my bags keep getting in the way, and it's early in the morning. I only did my skincare and I sat down again, so it's giving bedhead, but that's okay. Legal ages in the Netherlands is generally 18 is the age where it's kind of free for all, if that's the right phrasing, I don't know. But at 18 you can vote, you can drink, you can, I don't know, do a lot of other things that I forgot about. When you're 16 you can get a scooter license though, which is nice for people who want a scooter. About the driver's license, everyone learns how to drive a stick, so we all drive a stick. You can get an automatic car after, but it's cheaper to drive a stick. Let's not talk about gas prices, okay? Because that's just awful. Also, yeah, the Netherlands is based in Europe. It's so we have euros as money. If you want actual history lessons or accurate facts, I'm not the channel for that. I'm just sharing my experience. So, yeah. Don't come at me for getting things very wrong. I thought it would be fun to talk a little bit about house price ranges and maybe salary scales. But that's really difficult to explain, I think, because it really depends on the area, and the salary scales depend on the job that you do. But we do generally have collective employment agreements, and based on that you're put into scales, and then there's steps on like a ladder. So I went to college for pedagogy, which is similar to social work but youth oriented, and so mostly teenagers, and so I'm in the collective employment agreement, CAO, of social work, and within that I'm placed in the 6th scale because I did HBO, which is a level of college which means that I have the right to a X amount of salary, and then within that you have steps based on years of experience. So I have 2 years of work experience in the field, so that's how how I'm placed within the steps, and that determines your salary. And yeah, that's kind of how that works. It depends on the job, of course, and it depends on what study you did. It depends on the employer. It's dependent on a lot of things, but this is generally what I know. College. Maybe we should go to high school first. So you're 12 and you leave primary school. Then you go to high school. And we have different levels of high school. Starting at basis, which is base, kader, MAVO, HAVO, VWO, gymnasium. That's the very smart. Everyone is smart in their own way, let me say that. And because I'm describing this to you does not mean that I agree with this system, the way it works. But I'm not talking about any of that. But gymnasium is the one where the kids learn Latin and Greek and get the most difficult math that would make me cry so hard. I'm not someone who did gymnasium. And then the mid is kind of MAVO, HAVO, where HAVO is the more theoretical and MAVO is more the practical, and everything below MAVO is also more practical based. So I started my first year of high school in MAVO, HAVO, and then I went to HAVO. And depending on the level that you do, it increases the amount of years you go to high school. So gymnasium kids go to high school for 6 years, and MAVO goes for 4 years. I went for 5 years. And I liked high school. It was okay. I was very ill from my 3rd to 4th year, so my 4th and 5th year were really different in comparison to my peers, because I had an adjustable schedule. I would only go for 4 hours. My exam period was very weird because we thought that I was going to do a split exam, so do the first half in 1 year and then go to high school 6th year to do the second half. But then it kind of went okay and I graduated high school. So I'm not going to talk too much about that. But yeah, you take final exams in the end of your last year. You're finished. Those exams are around May, and then you have prom. Sometimes we had a prom, which was nothing. It was just about the entrance where everyone would get crazy vehicles, cars and stuff. There's a red carpet. We got out, took pictures, went inside, took pictures, went to the city. It was a year after that where our high school actually rented a venue and stuff for prom, but we already went to prom knowing that it wasn't going to be fun because the previous years also were similar. So that was my prom. Went to the city. It was fun. But like I said, the legal age is 18 and we were not 18 yet, so you'd have to sneak into clubs and bars, and you shouldn't do that. But yeah, I think that drinking and smoking and all that kind of stuff starts pretty young here. I think that I was 15 or 16 when I had my first sips of alcohol. I think I got drunk for the first time at 16. Smoking is something that still happens quite a lot here, mostly among students, I would say. But that's because I was a student and I saw a lot of people smoke, and I did smoke. I'm talking about cigarettes now, but weed is also a thing because it's legal. So weed is available through coffee shops. For us, they're called coffee shops, and you can buy X amount of grams of weed of your choice. There are different kinds, and you can smoke in there, you can take it home. You're only allowed to have a certain amount on you and in your house. You're also allowed to have weed plants in your house, but only up to 5 plants, from what I think, from what I remember. But yeah. So that is that. I think that I was also 15 or 16 when I smoked weed for the first time. And when I was 17, I smoked quite a lot. And in COVID, I smoked quite a lot, and yeah, that's kind of how that works. I think a lot of people here at parties also smoke weed, smoke cigarettes, do hard drugs, drink a lot. Pretty common. I don't do any of those things right now, luckily. I quit everything. I never tried hard drugs. It's very common to do so, though, at parties, especially techno scene. But I'll move to college, and then we'll talk about student culture and stuff, I guess. For me, college was 4 years, but I think that I spent about 5.5 to 6 years at college. After graduating high school, I studied, I wanted to be an English teacher, so I did that for 6 months. Then I realized I didn't like it at all, so I quit, went to Australia for a few months to work as an au pair, came back and started pedagogy, which is educational theory, very much based on children's psychology and education, but mostly education in the sense of how families raise children, how kids are being raised, and how kids are being conditioned, and everything around that. So with my degree, I could work at a youth prison or in a hospital. I could work, like I said, like a youth worker. I could work in schools, all from the role of a pedagogue, which is really lovely. There's a lot of opportunity. But I chose youth work through internships. So for me, internships were my first year we would have 1 day a week, and then in the second year it's 2 days a week. The third year is a full-time internship a whole year, and then the fourth one is split into doing your minor and writing your thesis. For me, I kind of switched those last two around, so I did my minor first, which I did intercultural work, which was so lovely and fascinating, and I learned so much about different cultures and how to work with that diversity in mind, you know, and was a really good experience. And then I did my full-time internship, and then I wrote my thesis. So we had the liberty to switch around a little, which was nice. But due to COVID and due to some bad experiences in internships, I delayed a little bit, but that's why I graduated in January. But yeah, the way that college works for us is they very recently switched this back around, because at first there was a system where you would be gifted a certain amount of money for college, but when I started college that was scratched, and so you could only get loans. Let's not get into student debt, because that's not relaxing at all. I have a pretty large student debt because I moved to the city where I studied, and yeah, so college for us is about 2,000 euros a year that you do pay out of pocket, but with the basisbeurs, it was called, I think you would get up to 600 a month, which could cover, I don't know, this might be really wrong, I'm very sorry to the Dutch people who are like, no, that's not how it works. But I had to use student loans to be they switched it back, which is nice, but it happened after I was finished. And I think that over the 10,000 euro I spent on college, I'm getting a refund of 1,000 euro. I keep saying dollars, but that's because that's easy to say in English instead of euro for me. But I'm getting some euro back, which is phenomenal. So yeah. Let's see what else I wrote down. I think that here are some random things that I remembered. My high school was an hour away from my house by bike, and so I biked to school for an hour there and an hour back. There are more bikes than people in our country. Biking is very normal. We learn it I think that I was like 4, 5, or 6, somewhere there. Learned how to ride a bike, and I would bike to school with my parents every day, and then later on without my parents. We get a biking exam in elementary school, based like around safety and everything, so the whole class takes it. It's really funny because there are a lot of parents and stuff who will be alongside the road and they'll check off if you did it right, I guess. That's what I remember. So we had a subject in primary school called traffic and safety. So that was a thing. And so yeah, I would bike for an hour to my school and then bike an hour home. 50 minutes it was. I think that for a lot of people here from small towns that's pretty common. But as I got a bit older, I started taking the bus more, and then I got an electric bike, so I had the luxury of that. But in the beginning, definitely not. And it was funny because school would start at 8:10, and so we would meet up at 7:10. So I'd wake up at 6, and I'd be home at like 5 if I had school till 4. It was really intense, but we'd get snacks along the way and have fun, and I met a lot of people there, and like along the way you start talking to strangers. I don't know. We're all teenagers, so yeah, I was also able to bike to elementary school alone. I know that in the US from friends, that is really uncommon to up until like a pretty late age. From what I see, it's common to like it's not a thing to leave your child at home alone, or like let your child go out alone. But we did things alone at a pretty young age, I would say. But yeah. Another fun fact, a way of advertising in the Netherlands is by bike seat covers. So sometimes you'll walk into school and you'll walk out and there's a bike seat cover with a commercial ad on it, and it's from some company. That often happens. We have a lot of canals, and yes, we can go ice skating on them in the winter, but it doesn't happen super often. And I think that now I'll get into the questions because that's easier. So, most favorite or underrated places to unwind. I think that I just like to escape into nature, but our country is really flat, and that's one of the things I don't like about my country. It's also really beautiful to be in the fields and the emptiness and the vastness then, but our country is relatively small, so I don't get that feeling of, like, you know, when you're in Switzerland or in Norway or something, and it's like being alone. That's not really something that I feel here. Even though I'm in the woods, I can still hear the town, you know? It's always pretty nearby. But I went to Texel last summer with a friend, which is one of our islands. Yes, we have islands, and no, they're not tropical at all, but they're beachy. But I loved going there. I like to go to I like the beach too, you know, have a different environment. Which is funny because I worked at a vacation park near me, and I'm in a very foresty area, so the people from the Randstad, which we call everything in the goes to our area to wind down, and we go that way to wind down, which is really fun because I will always meet people from the Randstad. So from Amsterdam, Rotterdam, The Hague, the big cities that you know, and that a lot of you guys assume everyone from the Netherlands is from Amsterdam. We're not. I'm rarely ever in Amsterdam, but that's funny. But it's always a fun conversation, like, oh, I had to escape into the woods and got sick of the beach, and I'm like, I would love to go to the beach. It was fun. And even for such a small country, it's really interesting to see the cultural differences within our areas, you know, it's always fun. But I think that would be a place to unwind for me. Also, I wanted to say that in Dutch there is a word for the act of doing nothing, and I think that that's really cool. And the word is niksen. And it's really the word nothing, but as a noun. Yeah. So I'm just doing nothing. Ik ben aan het niksen. So, like, what are you gonna do today? Niksen. So, doing nothing. Okay, so, let's see. I think also some favorite places is in our area is the Bosbank, beaches, aan de Ooi in Nijmegen. Om dan wat te drinken is de Kaai echt mijn favoriete plek. Superleuk. Hubert. En ik ben ook veel in de omgeving Apeldoorn geweest en ik vind Finnegans daar echt leuk. En Central Park. Central Park heet het. Ik weet het niet meer, volgens mij is het Central Park. I don't know. That was for the Dutch people. Least favorite parts about living here. Like I said, lack of landscapes, the amount of cars. It's just getting more and more. It feels like we're such a small country, and I live in a small town, but because there are vacation parks near me, a lot of tourists come, and that's when I notice how many people that, like, it gets so busy. Like I said, there are political things that I don't like, but you know, that's also got to do with growing up in a very white small town, and I'm surrounded. I have been surrounded by a lot of close-minded people in my life. That's really hard to detach from sometimes. My favorite, I think the climate is pretty decent here, and I like the city people mindset, the self-expression, the art options, yeah, I don't know, I think it's mostly because I just grew up here and it's what I know, but I like the people. Yeah, also some political things, like gay marriage and stuff is all legal. We celebrate Pride Month. There's a Pride Parade in Amsterdam. You have the option of getting abortion pills from your doctor, and we have a lot of luck in that sense that we're being listened to in that regard pretty well and taken care of in that way. Like in that sense, there's a lot of accessibility for that kind of stuff. The kind of qualities of people one can expect to find when visiting your country. I didn't really know how to answer that question. So what people are like here is we say hi to our neighbors. We're pretty direct. I would say there's this, how do I explain this? There's this down to earthness in Dutch people where I know that in the US it's a lot of like, I love you, oh my god, hi, how are you? And for us it's very like, hi, how are you? Okay, thank you. It's pretty calm in that sense, and like it's not so full on, but that has a downside as well, you know. So it's really airy, I would call it. But then again, there's also this phrase of doe maar normaal, dan doe je al gek genoeg, which is just be normal, you'll be crazy enough. So everything that's not normal or the norm is right off the bat is just weird, kind of, you know. So I don't like that, because I like everyone being celebrated, and be loud if you want to be loud, don't be loud if you don't want to be loud. But and everyone has an opinion on everything, and I find that hard to like pin on being Dutch, but it's also the way that my parents were raised, and their parents were raised, and their parents were raised, is very just suck it up and keep going, and yeah, you know, I don't know, I think that that's more a generational thing than a cultural thing, but yeah. Do you prefer the city or the countryside? I prefer the countryside, but I do also like the city, but I like the peace and quiet. Do you see yourself living in the Netherlands in the future? Very 50-50. I see myself just as well moving to a different country. I would love to live in the UK or in Scandinavia, so. Do you have a favorite Dutch snack? Yes, and it's a kaas soufflé, which is a cheese soufflé, which is a fried doughy thing. The inside is cheese and it melts, but I developed a yeast intolerance, and there's yeast on the cheese soufflés, so I can't eat them anymore, and it's so sad. But yeah, cheese soufflé. What it's like being so tall, and what it's like being surrounded by giants. So I'm 5'8", and that's a pretty, like, it's an average height, but it's also kind of tall. I don't know, it's fine. It's fine, I'm just living my life. It's only difficult in finding jeans that have the right length and them not being cropped at the ankle, you know, so that's tall life, I guess. I would love to hear about Dutch foods, typical foods, and more traditional foods. I think that the most traditional thing that we have is stamppot, which is mashed potatoes with mashed vegetables. So that's either carrots, and then there's a specific like recipe for it, or andijvie. I hope you don't hear my tummy too loudly, but it's growling. I'm hungry. And then sauerkraut as well with the mashed potatoes, and then gravy and some kind of sausage. That does not sound exciting at all. We do have a good variety of snacks, like to eat on the terraces, because sitting on a terrace is a thing here, and vibing on the terraces. The second the first rays of sunshine come in, we're out on the terrace. We have these fried balls with stuff in it, bitter balls. They're really good. We also have chocolate sprinkles, hagelslag, which is lovely. I think a very common lunch to have is just a slice of bread with butter and then the chocolate sprinkles. It's also like a breakfast food kids have a lot. But yeah, I think just a slice of bread is kind of the norm here. And for dinner, the norm is kind of potatoes, vegetable, sort of meat, and yeah, that's kind of the base of our food. Then holidays. I don't think I can talk too much about that because where my head's at, but we have Carnival, which is in February, where everyone just dresses up weirdly. And it's really, I don't like Carnival. I love the dressing up, but I hate the music. It's Dutch music, and it's just, I think it's absolutely awful. I'm sorry, but yeah, it's fun when you're really drunk, but I don't drink, and I did that stuff when I was 16, so I'm kind of like over it already. dress up, there are parades, there's craziness, there's colorful stuff going on. It's a good time. Then we have Sinterklaas, which is a very controversial thing to an extent. So you have Christmas. We always have 2 days of Christmas. So we have the first day and the second day of Christmas. So the first is the 25th, then the 26th. And before that, on December 5th, we have Sinterklaas, which St. Nicholas. And it's really nice. He gives gifts. He comes through your chimney as well, I think. And you put your shoe out, and you leave a letter and a carrot for the horse. And they'll give you a gift if you're nice. And they give you paper notes, which is like, they're like little biscuits. And they're so good. They're so good. Oh, like kind of gingerbready, but not really. But Sinterklaas has helpers, like Santa has elves, but he has helpers, and the Netherlands have a very long history in regards to slavery as well. And so, from very early on, Sinterklaas's helpers have been black, and white people depict the helpers now when there's the parade and they come in, and that's been like that for years, but everyone would do blackface because of the helper. His name was Pete, Black Pete. That was a very controversial thing. It always has been, but it has come, people have started to get louder in it, which is fantastic and very educational for every white person in our country. But it's also been so polarizing because there are so many people who are like, it's tradition, you're taking him from us. And then other people are like, but it's racist, so stop it, paint him another color, kids don't mind. And that's the thing, a lot of adults are very stuck up here on the tradition of it, and that's just really hard to navigate. And like I said, I came from a very small town, a white town, and they don't see it as racism. Like, how's that racist? So one time I spoke up about it on my Instagram stories, and I said something along the lines of, the fact that my town still does Black Pete makes me nauseous. And friends of mine send me pictures back of them painted blackface with their middle fingers up, like, oh, just stay in the big city then, whatever, stay there, which was beyond me. But that does go to show how, like, they just don't see it. They don't see it. And so I was the bad guy for ruining their tradition and their party, but I don't care. That was a very racist thing. But over the years, they have made really good changes, and that's the thing, like, change doesn't happen overnight, and it takes a lot of time. And where, like, that's the thing, I can see how they are all raised not seeing the racism, and it's not their fault for not seeing, but it's their fault for not being open to listening, and I do blame them for that. But I'm always, as a youth worker as well, I work with a lot of teenagers who are still, there's a lot of racism still, and I try to have open conversation with them about it, and that's usually really lovely. But, you know, change doesn't happen overnight, but it's really difficult when people are lashing out at each other over stuff like that, where you gotta be open to being educated, you know, and just because you're not experiencing something doesn't mean that it's not a valid thing people are experiencing. So, yeah, that's that on that. It's, but I enjoyed the holiday as a kid, and I really appreciate that they're making so many changes. Yeah. Also, Easter for us is 2 days as well. So, let's move on. Birthday traditions. We sit in a circle in the living room, invite our family, and there's a platter with little snacks going around often. It's called the circle birthday, which is the most common way of people celebrating birthdays. When it is someone's birthday, everyone is congratulated. So if it's your birthday, I'll congratulate you, and I'll congratulate your mother with your birthday, and I will congratulate your father with your birthday, or your I'll say happy birthday to that friend. So we're all just celebrating you hard. Connections with nearby countries. So Belgium is below us. It's kind of an extent of the Netherlands, you know. It's just Dutch with an accent. Germany. I think that our contact with other countries is fine. Actually, it's just fine. We go to Germany quite a lot. It's pretty close, and yeah. I moved to the Netherlands 2 years ago, and I'm always curious about places that locals would recommend. Also, maybe your impressions of the Dutch culture. As I kind of explained that, I think. But for the Dutch people, or the people who are in the Netherlands, someone asked me about like favorite Amsterdam food or things to do there. I don't go there often, so I like the beach on Texel. I like the Bosbank. The whole Veluwe National Park is beautiful. Giethoorn is really nice out of the peak season. It's a town fully made of canals, and you can rent a little boat and just go around the canals. It's really lovely. I mostly spend time in Nijmegen and in my town. So in Nijmegen, like I said, I love the Kai, Hubert Café, Franco James, the beaches by the Ooi, because they're peaceful. Zevenheuvelenweg, around Groesbeek and everything. It's beautiful nature, Bergendal. So yeah, that's places that I would recommend. Why do you sound so American? I think that the American accent is closer to Dutch than the British English accent. And like I said, I watch a lot of TV shows, and our media is very Americanized. We get a lot of American media. So that's how. What are some lesser known things unique to the Netherlands that you think foreigners would find quite interesting? I think that the biking to school thing is very different, maybe. Yeah. How hard was it for you to learn English? Why did you choose it? I think that it's the most common language in the world, like beside, I think, Spanish also. But for me, in where I live and the countries around me, English is the most accessible middle ground. So I didn't find it as hard because I was really young. But as I'm getting older, I'm finding it harder because the level is, increasing. So it's mostly my vocabulary and finding the right words in the right way that I find hard. I think that I could survive fine, but the more specific I get, the harder it gets. So recently I did the jewelry video. That was really hard to find the right words for the materials and stuff. So like the more niche it gets, the harder. Yeah, someone asked about the holidays in the Netherlands, so that was that. Would it be possible to live comfortably while still learning Dutch as an English speaker? Yes. In Amsterdam specifically, everyone speaks English, every employee in every store pretty much. I'll often get approached in English in stores, etc., because it's so international. Let's see. Any little story related to where you live that you grew up knowing about our area? No, I think it's a fun fact that I live somewhat close to the biggest waterfall of the Netherlands, and it's built by hand, and it's very unimpressive. But yeah, largest waterfall of the country. So cool. What do you think are the best places to visit? I've done that kind of stuff. What would be the best souvenirs to get in the Netherlands? Oh. Well, we don't wear clogs. That's not a very common thing to do. I think a lot of people in the countryside still have them, but not the traditional wooden clogs that you may know. But I think it would be fun to buy a pair of clogs. I don't think that souvenirs, like get some is your favorite childhood memory? Oh, there are so many. I loved playing in the woods as a kid, building huts. I loved playing with our neighborhood kids and playing hide and seek, and having to be home when the street lights would turn on, and then forgetting, and then coming home like, oh, I'm so sorry. I loved, I remember in elementary school we had outdoor days where also the TV would be shut off, like the channel would be just a blank screen because you'd have to go outside, and then the school would host all these activities, and they had all these water things that you could do, and everyone in town was just outside. It was fun. Let's see. I think that a lot of things are very similar to the things that I have explained. What do you think of the education system? So there are a lot of different types of elementary schools in the Netherlands as well, I want to say. I don't like it. There are good and bad sides to everything, but at the end of elementary school you also take a test, and that determines the level of high school, and it's solely based on the test and not really on the way the teachers have experienced the child, and that often goes really wrong. And then also kids of different cultures who go to a certain level are more likely to be put in a lower level than in high school because they're being underestimated. And so I don't like the hierarchy in intelligence, because intelligence comes in different forms, and there's this one kind of measuring that we do, I guess, which I don't like. Where would you recommend we visit? Ooh. I don't know. I think you should visit multiple places in the Netherlands to get a full view, because it's also different. I think the south is really fun. I think up north is really nice. In Friesland you can go vierleppen, which is such a unique sport. It's like jumping over a canal with a large stick with a pole, and it's so difficult to do. I did it last year, and it's really hard, but it's so fun. Like, it'll get you out of your comfort zone. And then also go to Nijmegen, guys. It's just fun. Good times. Go to Franco James. It's a nice bar. Go to parties at the Underground. Go to concerts in Doornroosje. Just let's see. Do you own a pair of trusty wooden clogs? I don't. Do you like pickled herring? No. So it's a thing where you'll eat a whole herring that's pickled with onion and stuff, and people eat it in one go. I'm also a vegetarian, so no, but I've never liked that. Debunking the stereotype of Dutch directness. I experienced the Dutch directness. I don't think we're not awful people. Like, there are a lot of kind people, and I think over the years people are starting to soften up a little bit. But there is very much the directness. If you're in the doctor's office, I know that in a lot of Arabic countries it's very common to kind of like sugarcoat it, talk around it, and then get to the point. And that is very shocking for a lot of people, from what I hear from the people of that culture, okay? It's very shocking for them to then walk into a doctor's office here and you'll be told the fact right away. So I do experience the Dutch directness. So yeah. What makes the Netherlands special? I think that we are very quick to adapt in ways. It's a very innovative country, especially in regards to water and stuff. Like, I'm not from the side where the water is. So there's a lot of land here that is supposed to be underwater, but we were able to create land there, and I think that's pretty phenomenal. And step into a cart then and drive that speed and not crash. Who are you, sir, of 50 years on Facebook? So it's always a fascinating topic. Do you get free healthcare? Yeah, we have obligatory healthcare, which everyone has a certain amount, as a base layer of healthcare, but you do sign up for it and you do pay for it, but it's between 95 to 150 euro a month, and then from the government you can get a certain amount of money, so especially at a younger age, I think that goes up to age 25 that you get it, I'm not sure, or your whole life. Guys, I don't know, I still get money back, but you can kind of measure it out that the money that you get is the money that you pay for your healthcare, which is nice. Lucky in that sense. So yeah, I think that I covered everything that I wanted to cover. I've been talking for quite a long time. I might not have done everything justice. I didn't get to every topic, but I'm also a little bit tired, and yeah, I think this kind of showed you the basics. Yeah. I think also Dutch festivals are really fun. If you're going to a Dutch festival, I'd recommend Down the Rabbit Hole. It's so fun. Yeah, I don't know why that came up, but yeah. Do I have anything else to say? I don't think so. For our next Cozy Chat session, I would